This is a satellite image of Lake Victoria. It's in East Africa, the equator runs through it, and it's very, very big. Lake Victoria, also known locally as Nyanza, lies within an elevated plateau in the western part of Africa's Great Rift Valley and is shared by the three East African states of Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. The fabled source of the River Nile, Lake Victoria covers an area of over 68,000 square kilometers, making it the largest lake in Africa and the largest freshwater lake in the world. It is home to the Luo-speaking people, for whom fishing on the lake is a traditional source of livelihood. Luo is a Western Nilotic tongue, distinctively different from the Bantu languages spoken by neighbors to the north and south, and the Kalenjin dialects encountered to the east. Benga music is today played across Kenya, from the lake shores in the west, across the vast floor of the Rift Valley to the slopes of Mount Kenya and into the plains of the east. Sprinklings of it have travelled as far south as Zimbabwe, and it has been borrowed, repackaged and reserved in big-name music countries such as the Democratic Republic of Congo and Cameroon. Benga music is less than 60 years old. The late 1950s and early 1960s mark its formative years. To understand the roots of Benga, we must travel back in time to take a look at traditional Luo musical instruments. In elaborate Luo compositions, the nyatiti was accompanied by the percussion sounds of ohangla, a set of drums, cow horns, gourds, sticks, shakers, complemented by the improvisations of people either singing or whistling or stomping their feet or clapping their hands or making blowing sounds. Sometimes the mournful single-stringed orutu would be incorporated. This combination of musical instruments and vocal accompaniment provided entertainment for all occasions long before the advent of the first European explorers and missionaries. The tempo of a nyatiti being played, coupled with the rhythmic thumping of an iron bangle harnessed to the player's toe, are considered by many to be the crucial links to modern Benga. The Nyatiti first influenced single note picking on the acoustic guitar, before eventually forming the root for the high and low-pitched electric lead and bass guitars.
Benga came in. It was a very unique kind of style which was based on the roto. Roto, the single string allows you to play so much with it, and there is a kind of undulating kind of style people use. Now, this is what a lot of guitarists borrowed. They take advantage quite a lot of it. So, like you hear, I'll play one old song by somebody called Omedo, okay? And just the rhythm, it goes something. Now, you hear that. There is a bit of I don't know how to call them. I'm not a trained musician, okay? But I know there is those kind of things. There's an effect they have on the ear. When you add that, it kind of like wakes you up.
The pioneers of Benga were one-man guitarists, accompanied by an instrument in the form of a wooden box called a conductor, which helped to keep the rhythm. Later, the then grooved Fanta soda bottle also served as an accompaniment. Soon after the Second World War, a handful of demobilized soldiers conscripted from Luoland arrived back home with a piece of musical equipment that would herald new ways of entertainment for their people: the Spanish acoustic guitar. The guitar from afar began to replace the local Nyatiti as the instrument of choice for communal entertainment.
Yokinya upa yoginga kundera mungi. Yokinya upa yoginga kundera mungi. Paye yoginga yuma kundera mungi.
The ex-soldiers and their students especially liked to play the guitar near to, beside or under a granary. This being because granaries were somewhat removed from the main compound, the better for naughty lyrics to escape the ears of the innocent and easily offended. The Luo word for granary is dero. The expression tiedero carries the idea of being around and about the granary. Although a pioneering Luo musician called Olima Anditi was already recording by the early 1960s with numbers such as Sabina, it is the late John Ogara Odondi who is regarded as one of the true, original developers of Benga. He founded the Ogara Boys Band in 1960 with Akech Oyosi, and with the recruitment of Nelson Ocheng Orwa 2 years later, it became a three-piece acoustic and vocal group.
My name is Samuel Akech Dabuya. Dabuya is my surname. I was born in Game West of South Nyanza district. My name is Nelson Ochieng. My love for music started when I was a very young boy. But it was not until 1961 when I first got my guitar that I started playing music seriously.
Barua mora yangi kona Barua somo Uganda, Onisomo, Nipodi somo Uganda. Barua, Mwana yandi nikona. Barua, Mwana yandi nikona. Onisomo, Nipodi somo Uganda, Onisomo, Nipodi somo Uganda.
Kila bit Raboro, Adik Mombasa. Kana Adik Mombasa na Adik Kugilimiti, Manote Tichu Gilimiti Kuru. Samba Moroni Ramiso.
In 1958, I was taken to go and work in Mombasa. It was in Mombasa that I met a musician from Congo called Mwendwa John Bosco. He took me in his band and we played together in a hotel in Tononoka. We took 9 months in Mombasa, then we came to Nairobi and recorded our song. When Bosco went back home to Congo, he left me his tools and his guitar and even gave me his address and told me to visit him anytime in the Congo. I never went to see him up to now and we've never met again. It was at that time that I came back to the village where I played the guitar at many functions. But people did not like the music because I was singing in Kiswahili alone. But later when we met with Ochieng Nelly and the others, the music was more loud because now we started doing it in Dholuo. In 1963, I met a Kech who was already playing the guitar. Together with him, we met Ogara. We came up with this music that was later to be called Benga.
Another song by these three ambitious young men was the 1965 self-praising title Samuel Akech, in which the word Benga is mentioned for the very first time in any known recording.
Benga.
Kericho-based veteran music producer and retailer A.P. Chandarana attested to this in an off-camera interview in which he claimed Benga is Ogara.
Mayandi wanino na ya iuyo mae. Mayandi wanino. Chimura kecho yosi anda kujo. Samina kujo igindiga.
Born in 1943, Ochieng Nelly started playing the guitar in his teenage years after being inspired and taught by the pioneering Congolese musician Adolphe Banyora. He explains how Congolese words such as bolingo, meaning love, appeared in their early recordings. For example, in the song Monica Ondego, in which Ogara praises his first wife.
People like Oyugi Kembo would be considered to be the first guys to play guitar in Luo land. There were others like this old man who used to stay at Kaloleni, Sila Guada, and their music was literally very close to the European music, and it was good for storytelling and entertainment, having a good time.
Jokinya upa yoginga kunjera mungi. Jokinya upa yoginga kunjera mungi. Paye yoginga juma kunjera mungi. Paye yoginga juma kunjera mungi. Oginga Juma kunjera mungi. Oginga Juma kunjera mungi.
But they were not concerned very much about the beat. And Benga, I would say very correctly, I believe that it has its roots again from the Congolese music, in the sense that when people like Edward Masengo came to Kenya from Congo, they started playing music which was a bit Benga-like, but more rumba. And then the Luos, yes, found it more of a civilized dance, and some of them got involved in this concept, like Josiko Keo played a similar beat, Ben Blasters of Blawayo played a similar beat. But the youth were full of energy in the 60s, found it a bit boring. They wanted something more exciting. They wanted action-oriented beat. And that's the time when there was now a fusion between what we call Benga and what the lawyers call Omutivo. The founder of Benga in Kenya or in Lowland is actually John Ogara, because John Ogara had been playing one guitar, and from his one guitar, he did the fusion between Omutivo, Nyatiti, and came up with the Benga. And his beat was quite popular, and he was the first one who also recorded Benga in Kenya.
The musician that influenced me most was John Ogara, now the late, and his team of players. More so in the lead guitar was the solo wizard Akecho Yosi and Ochieng Nelly. And
he had more of a wizard of solo guitar. That was Akech Jabuya, better known as Akecho Yosi. During that time, Ogara was so popular with his band that it was called Ogara Taifa. But his name was Ogara Kaisa. But most people refer to him as Ogara Taifa because of his touch. Then Ogara became very popular with his Benga up to a certain point when I think he met Ochieng Nelly, who had come from Congo, who had been playing with the Congolese there, and introduced a new beat to the band. And at that time, Ogara found that was probably the best way to go. But unfortunately, I felt it was the wrong way, because he took him more to the Congolese music, abandoning Benga midway.
In the early 1960s, Benga was still in its infancy. No one could possibly tell that a particular genre was being developed. These three pioneers helped shape the music style and unknowingly left it to others, like D.O. Misiani, to develop it further and acquire more fame and success.
No, Benga is not a slow-paced music. It is a very fast one, and after dancing, people are always sweating all over.
The fact that the lead guitar and everything is the rhythm guitar, the bass guitar, all of them take their lines
from the lead vocals. So what happens is that when the singer sings the song, the lead guitarist has to derive his melody from the vocals. So there must be the closest is the lead guitar, which actually shadows the lead voice. And then from there, the bass guitar and the rhythm guitar have a little bit more freedom. So that the identity of the song itself, which comes from the singer and the melody and whatever intonations that he uses, so the lead singer and the lead guitarist stay together. The rhythm guitarist and the bass guitar have a little bit more independence, but it is always based on the actual song, which is the lyrics from the singer, the melody from the singer, and then it is built around that, which makes it actually more simple compared to other forms of music, African music like Lingala, for example, where you have a lead guitar running, but it is not really based on the lead vocals. With the Benga, it has to be coming from the lead song, so that a song retains its identity to the simplest person all the way to the ground.
Mitindo ilikuwa inaitwa march. Kulikuwa na march na slow march. Nafikiri ilikuwa imetokana na uzunguni. Maybe Spain ama nchi kama hizo.
When I was growing up, I found a style of music called march, which was in both slow and fast pace, and was followed by the pachanga style, then the twist, and then came the benga. Benga is our sound that originally was from Luo Nyanza, with its pioneers that I know being George Ramogi, Kolela Maze, and Dio Misiani. I know the real difference between Benga and other music sounds, like Ndombolo. Some people just say Benga but can't describe what Benga is. The difference comes in the solo guitar and the drums. The person playing the solo guitar in Benga uses only 1 or 2 chords, while the drum has a more constant beat.
There are other styles. There is the dodo style, which is like a slower style, like you go swinging like that, and then there are some bengas which would pick on that style. There are few, but not so many, which picked on another style called the Ramogi style, where mainly it's a drumming style, which goes something like ding, 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 ding. Now, what happened, very interesting, by around early 70s, the musicians now had acquired mainly electric instruments, plus the modern drum set. They moved away from the drum, the ordinary drum, the traditional drum. Now, the traditional drum is what used to go ding, 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 ding. Then, something happened. In the new drum set, almost all of them had the cowbell, stuck on top. Now, it's like these guys picked on the same thing. So they would go like ding, ding, ding. Now, that translated on the cowbell would go tung 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 tung. Now, if you listen to Bengas of 70 to around 74, that was like the signature for Bengas.
There has been a continuing debate as to the origins of the word Benga itself. Various leads are suggested.
Mwanzo kabisa ya Benga ilianzia Uganda. Tulienda kucheza huko Uganda, alafu watu wa Uganda wale wanawake walikuwa huko walishona ile nguo inaitwa Ogara style.
The word Benga is not that much of a Luo word. It started in Uganda. We went to play our music there, which was called Ogara style. The women who came to dance had this cloth that was stitched around and was loose from the waist. As they danced, the wind carried all the clothes and we started saying, Lao Bengore, which means the cloth is loose in Luo. That is when we started the word Benga. Even before we called this music Benga, it was there, but then it was being called March. March was a breakaway from the Congolese rumba, which at that time was being played everywhere in Nairobi and around the country.
Its birthplace is Western Kenya, around the shores of Lake Victoria. It's a string-based music using string instruments, traditional instruments like the nyatiti.
One of the most controversial suggestions of the origins of the word Benga perhaps came from Dio Misiani, who long maintained that it was derived from his mother's name. She was called Obengo.
Benga came in at a time when there was a cloth being tailored and the style of the cloth was being called Benga. So when the girls were dancing, they used to have that Benga. When you turn around according to that dance and people see you dressing in Benga, then you become a great lady. So the musicians picked it.
Benga, I think, was borrowed from Zaire and Rumba because it's a style of a dance. When people dance, when people are singing, you hold your partner, and if it comes to the climax, you relieve yourself and then dance freely.
Although the word Benga may have been derived from the Congolese Lingala, the musical arrangement and melodies was deeply embedded in the Orotu and Nyatiti traditional instruments of the Luo people of Western Kenya. But I'll be quick to add that it would be incorrect to imagine or to consider that Benga purely originated from the Luos, from the Luo traditional instruments, because it has also borrowed freely from other genres of music, especially the rumba.
Earlier, the era of 78 RPM discs and his master's voice gramophones had been ushered in by European producers after Kenya's first recording studio was set up in 1947. The year, it is said, Coast Province-based pioneer Fundi Konde was the first Kenyan to play the electric guitar. They were to hold monopoly over the industry for many years to come, before Kenyan producers made any headway into the recording business. Rivaling the Europeans at the time was a Kenyan producer of Indian ancestry, A.P. Chandarana, whose base has remained Kericho, lying in the lush, tea-growing regions east of the Rift Valley. Chandarana's choice of business location, his recording acumen, and his background as a Kenyan of Indian origin provided him with certain qualities that impacted either positively or negatively towards the growth of not only Benga as pop music, but also of other Kenyan genre. Other producers who have left their indelible mark on early Kenyan music include the late Peter Colmore, who ran a production house of the same name, and Charles Warrett of the now-defunct Equator Sounds. Out of the Ogara years came a marked proliferation of the first proper bands, which were now outfits of at least 3 guitars and a drum set. With them came the 45 RPM vinyl records and the debut of the now well-known names in Benga music like George Ramogi, D.O. Misiani, Owiti Origo, Juma Odundo, and Josie Kokeyo. These pioneering musicians were later to dump their acoustic guitars and snap up electric ones, once, as it is said, the power was turned on. Many have passed on, including Kolela Maze and George Ojijo. Still active are Osito Kale and Orwa Jasolo. By the beginning of the 1970s, Benga had come of age and was a musical force to be reckoned with. Despite the political turmoil of Kenya's early independence years, the economy was robust. The 1970s saw the emergence of Oluoch Kanindo as the doyen of Benga music producers.
I started production in 1973. But majorly we started together in 1 year with David Amunga. But maybe I tell you I started with AIT Records before I formed my company. So I worked with AIT for almost 3 years, then joined my company. POK was registered. And I recorded as POK in 1975. When we started with Owino Misiani and Kolela in a label called Sungura. And that is when I took off.
Kanindo had a plethora of labels such as Lolwe, Sungura, Oyundi, Dwol, amongst others. The Hundwe label is synonymous with 1970s Benga. Kanindo controlled an industry worth several million shillings, determining the fate of Benga musicians as well as setting their standards. He is said to have at times played bands against each other and at times to have dropped some without warning. It has been suggested that Kanindo's management style, no doubt motivated by business interests and familial or clan-based loyalties, triggered unprecedented mass production of Benga releases. He also embarked on the Congolization of Benga in the promotion of Kolela Maze, his brother-in-law. Kolela ran the original Victoria band together with Ocheng Nelly Mengo. Perhaps the best-known Benga artist in Kenya and abroad has been Daniel Owino Misiani, commonly known as D.O. Many regard him as the father of this music style. His iconic presence stems from his powerful compositions and a degree of controversy. He exemplifies the musician as polemicist. His lyrics were often loaded with anti-establishment themes. He had his fair share of brushes with the establishment, once being deported from his Kisumu base to Tanzania. To politicians, D.O. was always a true Kenyan until he began to criticize them. Born in 1940 in Shirati, northern Tanzania, where there is a small Luo community, D.O. began singing in a church choir at the age of 7 and bought his first acoustic guitar in 1958, having seen his first one after the end of the Second World War, when his elder brother, Raphael, came back with the guitar from the battlefields in 1950. The two paired up and entertained villagers. They broke up when D.O. became the star attraction. He arrived in Kisumu aboard a ship with some musician friends and played there for a while, before relocating to Nairobi, where they could record. Meeting popular musicians like Daudi Kabaka and David Amunga helped refine D.O.'s music. But it was Kisumu that became his city of choice, and he spent most of his life there. D.O.'s music, like any other Benga compilation, depended much on the high-pitched lead guitar mimicking the lead vocalist. but it was also the heavy percussion that added a lot of fan-pleasing value to it. Benga is not associated with wind instruments, but against type, the 1970s release Lala Salama featured a lone saxophone played in sync with the rhythm guitar. In the song Amka Salama, for example, there is his amusing, typically Luo rendering of the Kiswahili words milele na milele, meaning forever and forever. Mapenzi yetu yataendelea milele na milele. Once, on a visit to Germany, Dio was asked to write a brief account of his life and career as a starting point for a biography. He sat down and began to pen his story rather laboriously in capital letters, stopping and starting again in a style which saw him referring to himself sometimes as Mr. in the second person. After a couple of hours, he broke for lunch with his hosts, and that was the end of that. He never returned to the project. In 2006, after a rehearsal in the Kondele suburb of Kisumu, his base of many years, Dio boarded a communal transport van known in Kenya as a matatu, heading home for a brief rest before the evening performance at the Oasis pub. Some 3 kilometers away, a bus descending into the town from the Kajulu Hills lost control and rammed into the matatu. Dio, seated in the front of the vehicle, had little chance. His life's journey had reached its end, and one of Kenya's greatest music icons was no more. He was buried in his native Shirati in Tanzania at a funeral attended by some of the politicians he had spent his life criticizing. By the mid-70s, studio recording in the capital city of Nairobi and other sizable towns was big business. Musicians would head for the many studios on River Road. The story is told of how Melodica's Asian operators would fit all the Luo vocalists with dentures before a recording session to reduce the hissing delivery occasioned by the removal of 6 lower teeth, as decreed by tradition.
This was the house of Benga. They used to record those days, the old Benga musicians. They used to record here. George Ramogi used to record here. Metric, that is Leonard Omedo, and Kabasele Uchieng used to record his music here. So this is actually the home of Benga music also. Uchieng Kabasele is my father. So he passed away 8 years ago. He started doing his recording in this house while he was in school. So most of his songs he recorded in Melodica, and actually when he passed away, I took over the leadership of the group. The group was doing some Benga, and it was urbanized Benga.
There were larger studios like High Fidelity, Sapra, Polygram and Andrew Crawford's. Other big local music labels were EMI and CBS. There is a large music fraternity in Nairobi's River Road area. Countless music stores blare out music in competition with one another. A couple of recording studios continue to thrive in this digital age. It is an industry cultivated over 4 decades that has seen little basic change, besides the demise of vinyl, giving way first to tape cassettes and then to CDs. Perhaps one of the most striking features of the River Road district is the presence of session guitarists, background vocalists and dancers for hire. They hover about at specific spots, waiting for prospective clients. Once a musician has lyrics and melodies at the ready, it is time to choose session musicians and to enter a studio to record an album. Besides the club circuit, Benga has always been vibrant in bars. Today, every other pub in the Benga belt of urban centres has acquired sophisticated equipment to bring the beat to the people. From the 1960s into the 1980s, where there was no live band, Benga reached its fans through the jukebox. The typical price was 1 shilling for 5 songs. Bars tended to be segregated along ethnic lines, especially in cosmopolitan Nairobi. They had names like Nyanza, Ukwala, Kakamega Day and Night, Kisii or Rwadhia. But the jukebox, as the main source of music, broke these invisible ethnic barriers.
Now, you could see Benga extended beyond the Luo boundaries for a reason that people like Okecho Mbasa could now play for Kikuyu bands. People like Odongo, Manila could now help them to play rhythm, solo, and so they could play same Benga. So Benga extended. When Kakai Kilonzo then came in, joined at the recording of High Fidelity, and so all the times from morning to midnight, High Fidelity was full with various bands recording, but then the Benga name became so popular.
Music the world over is a vehicle for cross-cultural understanding, sharing and adaptation. Benga has traversed borders beyond Luo Nyanza, manifesting itself in Kisii, crossing into the Kalenjin Rift Valley, into Kikuyu Central Kenya, into Kamba Eastern Province, and, to a limited extent, into Luhya Western Province. The Kisii, who are Bantu, are right next door to the Luo in the east, just as the Luhya are to the north. But whereas there has been a mutual exchange between Luo and Luhya music, for the Kisii, borrowing Benga was very much a one-sided affair. Owing to its relative economic prosperity, Kisii town has hosted several Luo guitarists who have also been hired by their Kisii counterparts for recording sessions. The late Benga guru Okach Bigi was based in Kisii, for example. Benga has also made inroads among the Luhya of Western Province. The Luhya are a Bantu people living in the hills north of Nyanza. They occupy most of the province and are splintered into several subgroups. Numerically, they form the second largest ethnic group in Kenya.
My names are Wilson Omutere Ongaru. Those are the names my mother gave me at birth, but my stage names are Sukuma Binongaro. I started playing music at the age of 14 years. George Mukabi and Isaiah Mwinamo were ahead of me in terms of recording and inspired me a lot.
Musicologists have pointed out that Luhya music has very little Luo influence, arguing that the Luhya accepted or adapted Benga much later, having already developed a definite beat of their own, known as Omutivo, propagated by such provincial stars as George Mukavi, a pioneering guitarist and vocalist who sang mostly in Kiswahili before he died in 1964. Daudi Kabaka is another big name from the Luhya stable, although it must be said that by the mid-1960s he had developed a sound which was very much his own. The word Kalenjin describes a people who speak a cluster of closely related Nilo-Hamitic dialects spoken in the western part of Kenya and in the Rift Valley area. The community is better known for its long-distance athletes than for its music, but that is not to say that they have been averse to Benga. After the death of Elizabeth Chepkorea, Angelica Chepkoech is the surviving member of the 1990s duo, the Kalenjin Sisters, who received tremendous radio and TV airplay in their time. The Kikuyu are the country's largest ethnic group, traditionally to be found around the majestic Mount Kenya, the mythical home of Ngai, the Kikuyu name for God. D.K. Kamau is arguably the first musician from central Kenya to wholesomely embrace Benga as his musical style.
My name is Daniel Kamau Mwai, but I'm known as DK in the music circles. I started music at a tender age of 14 years. My first music was recorded in 1968. This is because I did not know where to record and thought that it was done at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, then called the Voice of Kenya.
By then it was VOK.
I wrote a letter to KBC, and a woman called Mrs. Kabeberi gave me the address of Mr. David Amunga. When working with Mr. Amunga, I met other Luo Benga artists, including Peter Rachar, Ucheng Kabasela, among others. We discussed a way of playing my music in Benga beats and recorded a song with Peter Rachar, which was a great success. In 1970, with the money I got from the song we did with Rachar, I managed to start my own recording studio. When my music first came out, people did not like it as such, saying it was Congolese band, but later, it became a hit when the radios played it more and more. It was bought by Kenyans across the board and was one of the most successful songs that I've ever done out of the more than 1,000 songs that I've recorded so far.
The Kamba are yet another populous Bantu-speaking people of Kenya. They are closely related to the neighbouring Kikuyu, but fundamentally different when it comes to traditional music, in which they have excelled, with song and dance backed by an assortment of drums. While the ambitious guitar bands from Western Kenya had to endure long overnight journeys by road or train to Nairobi, over 300 miles away, to seek their fame and fortune, this was not the case with their counterparts from the districts nearest to the capital city. For aspiring Kamba musicians, the capital was a couple of hours bus ride even from the community's heartland.
I started my career with the All-African Band, where I was the only Kenyan. The others were 2 Tanzanians and 2 Congolese, who were mostly singing in Lingala than Swahili. It was for these reasons that I left the band and joined another Congolese band called the Spiders. I later moved on to the Victors. We played in various clubs in Nairobi. We teamed up with Kilimambogo brothers to be the kings of Eastern Kenya Benga.
And we became so popular that we were nearly paralyzing Franco and their team. And that forced Franco to come to Kenya to see me in Awendo. Later, Tabule came to see me and Billy Abel. Later, Sam Mangwana came. Later, Niboma came. And so, what is funny with Benga is that the Congolese could not play the guitar that the Bengas are playing. So we could steal some of their rhythm, like Bata Mombasa, which played a very big hit which Luos could copy, Benga team could copy. And we had also good music like Kiserupek, which had to be copied by Lokasa Yambongo. So we could now steal from each other.
The style of playing Benga was very nice. Even if you can hear some Lingala people, some Lingala musicians. Owino Musiani played a record which was singing Kisero, Pek, Chelo, Kidi, Kisero. I heard it from the Congolese record. Because the record was so nice for the Syrians to copy. So if you play Benga, if you play good music, any other musician can copy from you and play this.
Although many Benga musicians didn't manage to travel outside their native Kenya, their music crossed borders for them.
I also I played with King Jazz. The band leader was called Suleiman. He was playing Oka Jazz style of music. He was Franco's supporter. I rehearsed with him, I practiced with him, then I managed to compose a song for His Excellency, the President of Uganda, Dr. Paulo Milton Obote. The song called Obote Dogma Uganda Africa Duchoye. The song was very popular and made me work with Obote in the President office.
The adaptation of Lingala elements from the Congo into Luo Benga curbed in part the onslaught of Congolese Lingala music that was flooding the local market, backed by greater financial and intellectual forces. Bands like Les Mangelepa, Virunga and Les Noirs had set base in Nairobi and were paradoxically managed by Luos such as Tabu Osusa and George Opio.
Congolese music was originally based on song and melody, with the solo guitar playing a major role to lead people to dance. We call this sebene. On the other hand, in Kenya, the musical accompaniment and especially the rhythm guitar was the driving force. Of course, we in Congo had a bit of these too. But we began to be more and more influenced by the Kenyan trend, Benga, which has long dance sections leading to the climax. This change was inevitable.
In the first decade of the 21st century, Benga is at a crossroads. Globalization and digitalization pose serious challenges to the production, packaging, and distribution of music generally. Musicians who fail to adapt fast enough face dire consequences.
I think it is dying pole because of the present setup, whereby you now have this, so many musicians, and then the techniques we are now having, electronics, and the type of instruments which are now coming up. You can now see we also have things like ohangla are now coming up, and so pole Benga is dying out.
Benga is a music style that is in raw form, still in raw form. It needs now professional approach. The way the Rwandans took it and called it dombolo.
While hardcore followers remain steadfast to live Benga bands, hip-hop and rap have also eaten their share into the audience. Singing in Luo, the rap duo of Giddy Giddy Maji Maji cut a niche for themselves in the early 2000s. At times, their audience would be a crossover from Benga shows.
Who are you? What are you? Who the hell do you think you are?
I can't just appeal that Benga is still a very, very rich music. If it gets a better promotions and marketing, Benga will do much, much better than any other music like rumba in Zaire.
There is definitely a great big future, because one thing I know for sure is that on a few, the most interesting is a trip not so many years ago towards the southern parts of Africa. I found that Benga was played such a major role in their lives that they could actually pick songs from Benga, the western part of Kenya, and simply rewrite the lyrics in their own languages to suit their market. It means that they used to be major consumers of Benga, and they know that Benga is a sure hit. So it's up to us to realize and to be exposed more to ourselves, the actual value of our original music. I think we are exposed because we are overwhelmed by music from outside. We are a consumer society who prefer what belongs to someone else. The grass is always greener on the other side.
At the moment, what we play can be called Benga Rumba, because it's some sort of a fusion. Benga, a little bit of Benga, but you start with the rumba. Yeah, so I think we can call it Benga Rumba.
My style of music is contemporary Benga. Having come from western parts of Kenya, I had an interest, because I grew up listening to Benga music, And if you listen to my music now, I wanted, you know, it's Benga, it sounds Benga, but I tried to modernize it a bit.
Benga artists are also witnessing the withering of their primary audiences. The style is being suffocated by the profusion of Ohangla and Congolese rumba.
Any sort of genre of music that has lasted for a long period of time has sort of metamorphosed over the course of time, where people take a particular germ of something and develop it through constant playing of it and decide, okay, we've played it like this too many times, let's try do it this way, you know, and it grows and it grows, and you can still hear the hints of where it's coming from. And the sort of the beauty of that, or the strength of that, is that it's entirely ours, you know. And it's I think it'll be how we make our footprint in the world.
Since the staple theme of Benga music is love, the musical style has the potential for popular mobilization against sexual violence, drugs and prostitution, and pandemics such as HIV/AIDS.
Dunia mbaya, dunia mbaya, rembo wa rembo, dunia mbaya, kulala inje, dunia mbaya.
We have a lot of music talents here. We have a lot of music forms that are unique to Kenya, and sometimes we take them for granted. I think it's a high time we packaged this music, Kenyan type of music, and shared it with the world, because there are opportunities out there. We should never try to mimic other people, because we are better in our own music. We are better in what is Kenyan, and people are anxious to see what is unique about Kenyan culture, Kenyan people, Kenyan music. So we should endeavor to grow our music.
For Benga to get international recognition and acceptance by all, it needs to work on good musical arrangements. As they would say in the corporate world, for Benga music to survive, it definitely needs to be rebranded. Yeah.
Over 6 decades, Benga music started from a traditional village setting to infiltrate first a country and then an entire continent, not to mention Benga lovers outside Africa. It has experienced many permutations and noted the legacy of many legendary figures. But for its many fans everywhere, Benga is here to stay.